What you're about to see was captured on camera, but no one watching realized what was coming. Simon Nellist, a former Royal Air Force serviceman, went out for what should have been a normal swim, something he had done hundreds of times before. Simon knew these waters. He trusted them. He felt safe here. But in just moments, everything would change. People on the shore started screaming. At first, no one understood what they were seeing. That was until the water exploded. And in that moment, everything changed. This wasn't just another swim. This was a great white shark attack happening right in front of their eyes.
Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce.
This happened in Sydney, at a place called Little Bay. It's the kind of beach people feel safe in. Calm water, quiet area, a spot where locals come to swim almost every day. In fact, there hadn't been a fatal shark attack here in nearly 60 years. For most people, it didn't even feel like a real risk anymore. And that's exactly why Simon Nellist was there. Simon was 35 years old, a diving instructor, and a former Royal Air Force serviceman. He loved the ocean, not just casually. It was a big part of his life. He swam in this area all the time, almost daily. He knew these waters. He understood them. He was also engaged, planning to get married. By all accounts, he was the kind of person people naturally trusted. Calm, friendly, always willing to help. The kind of guy who made people feel comfortable around him. Nothing about that day felt unusual for him. It was just another swim. He wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary that day. Just a regular swim. He was actually training, getting ready for a charity event. So this wasn't random. This was part of his routine. He had done this route before, many times. He knew the area well, knew how the water moved, where to swim, where to stay. And it's not like he didn't know sharks existed there. He had seen them before, but they never felt like a real threat. Not to him, not in that place. So he got into the water like he always did. That day felt completely normal. People were around, some sitting by the rocks, others out in the water, a few fishermen nearby as well. The water looked calm, quiet, just another day at the beach. But under the surface, something was moving below. No one could see it yet. No one could feel it. Because sharks don't just attack randomly, they pick up on signals, movement in the water, tiny vibrations, even the way something struggles or splashes. And when there's fishing nearby, that makes it even stronger. Fish on lines struggling, sending out constant signals. To a shark, that's like a beacon. And from below, the view is completely different. A person swimming on the surface can easily look like prey, like a seal, especially with a wetsuit. A great white doesn't circle and think twice. It comes from underneath, fast, direct. In short bursts, it can reach speeds close to 40 kilometers per hour. And when it strikes, it doesn't hold back. The bite force alone can go over 1.8 tons of pressure. To put that into perspective, that's like a small car pressing down on you, concentrated into one single bite. A human bite is around 70 to 80 kilos. A lion, around 600 kilos. This is much stronger than that and isn't a warning bite. When it commits fully. Unfortunately for Simon, once he enters the water, the shark had already noticed him. From below, it could see him moving across the water. The movement, the rhythm of the swim. To the shark, it didn't look like a human, it looked like prey. And once it locks onto something like that, it doesn't hesitate. It started moving in, slow at first, staying underneath, completely unseen. Then it lined itself up, and in a split second, it launched. The first contact is usually fast, so fast that people watching didn't even understand what they were seeing at first. There was a sudden burst in the water, splashing. For a moment, it didn't make sense, and then it hit them. This wasn't normal. The shark had come from directly below, exactly how they hunt, a powerful upward strike. The water instantly turned chaotic. Waves, splashes, confusion everywhere. And this wasn't just one single moment. It happened in phases. There were seconds in between where it almost looked like it was over, and then it wasn't. Simon doesn't have had time to react, and sadly, no one could get there in time. It all happened right there, in front of everyone. And once that first bite lands, the damage is already severe. The force alone causes massive trauma. From his side, it would have felt sudden. One moment, he's swimming, and the next, there's a violent impact out of nowhere. At first, there's confusion. Your brain tries to catch up, trying to understand what just happened. Then adrenaline kicks in. The brain floods the system with stress signals. For a brief moment, it pushes everything into survival mode. That's the body's immediate response to something this extreme. For a brief moment, that can actually dull the pain. But that doesn't last long. Very quickly, weakness starts setting in. The body's losing blood. Energy drops fast. Simple things become difficult. Breathing becomes harder. More effort with each second. Movements slow down. Control starts slipping. And as all of this builds up together, awareness begins to fade. Things get distant, less clear, until eventually, the body just can't keep up anymore and starting to shut down. Blood pressure drops, strength fades, control over movement starts slipping. Everything becomes weaker, slower, harder to manage, and all of this happens within moments. Back on the shore, people had already started calling for help. You can hear the panic in their voices. Some were pointing toward the water, others trying to understand what they just saw. Emergency services were alerted immediately. Rescue crews moved in fast. Boats, jet skis, search teams scanning the area. But by the time they reached him, the damage was already too severe. There was nothing they could do. The search continued for hours. Eventually, they were only able to recover what remained. After that, everything changed. Beaches across the area were shut down. What was once a calm, familiar place suddenly felt different. People stayed away from the water, and the whole community was left in shock. This wasn't something they were used to. Not here. Not after so many years. Officially, it was labeled as a provoked attack, but not in the way people might think. He didn't do anything to cause it. Instead, it was the environment around him. There were fishermen nearby, fish on lines, struggling, sending vibrations through the water. That's what drew the shark in. It wasn't targeting him as a person. It was reacting to signals, to movement, to what it believed was prey, and he just happened to be in the middle of it. Wrong place, at the wrong moment. Simon Nellist was just 35 years old. He was a diving instructor, a former RAF serviceman, and someone who loved the ocean. He was engaged, planning a future with the person he loved. Friends and family remember him as kind, calm, and someone who had a natural way of connecting with people. He made a positive impact on the people around him. And even after everything that happened, they didn't want the shark to be killed. Because to them, this wasn't about blame. It was a tragic moment in a place where nature doesn't follow rules. Simon lost his life doing something he did almost every day. And for the people who knew him, that loss is something that doesn't go away.